All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Talk. You are tuned in with myself, Mr. Scott Lylander, and we have a very special guest here tonight to talk about all things audio with us. And we have got Mr. Norman Varney of AV Room Services. Norm, welcome to The Talk.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite.
Yes, well, and I appreciate that whatever show I go to, you're always there.
There's so many shows. Yeah,
Do
I'm in a
you
lot
do,
of them.
do you go to all of the shows, Norm?
Heck no.
No.
No. But I have some favorites. Yours is one of them. The New York show. This will be the first time I've done the show in New York. So I'm excited about that. And we typically do like Expona, the Capital Audio Fest in DC, Munich in Munich.
Yep.
And I love the two Canadian shows, but I had to miss both of them this year because of prior conflicts. So yeah.
Okay, well, I got a little bit of footage from the Montreal Audio Fest, and we want to talk about the show. We want to talk about Total HiFi Experience, and that is going to be in Round Rock. The Lone Star Audio Fest is coming up here May 2, 3, 4, 2025 at the Embassy Suites, Round Rock, followed by the show Hilton, Orange County, Costa Mesa. That's the California.
Yep, I'll be there.
We have got the New York International Audio Show, October 24, 25, 26 at the Hilton Hayesbrook Heights Meadowlands. Wonderful. I did catch one of the highlights I caught from the Montreal show was that my favorite guy was there. Norm, you weren't there, but my next favorite guy was there, which was Harley Lovegrove with Pearl Acoustic.
Oh,
I love that guy.
Yeah. Well, and yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry that I missed that show. So, yeah. But I saw it. It looked like it was well attended, and everyone.
But yeah, so. Yeah. So why don't we talk about let's talk about AV Room Services, and how long have you been running AV Room Services, and what do you do there, Norm?
Okay, so AV Room Service came about in 2001. And at the time it was primarily, I just did acoustic consulting and design work and testing. We did have our frequency response panel system, which is acoustical products that go behind a stretched fabric system. And then we added to that. So developed a couple of additional products to kind of offer more bandwidth control to that absorption and diffusion family. And then in 2009, we came out with our room damp. It's a constrained layer damping product that is for sheathing of walls and ceiling and floors for construction. It's like I said, it's a damping product. And from there, we've developed a lot of other products, but really starting with the bigger vibrations, and as we are developing other products, going down to smaller and smaller vibrations, because you can't do it the other way around and benefit. You've got to control the big stuff before you can control the little stuff. So yeah, we've introduced a lot of products since, and I think I have 13 more on the drawing board that I'm hoping to bring to market. So it just takes time, and there's so many shows. So it's hard to do the R&D.
There are so many shows.
Yeah. But we offer
but I know that absolutely. So in addition to the products that you have on, and that you can find that at avroomservices.com, and I want to talk about some of those. You also do products and services. So you go in, you can build listening rooms or studios, and then you can also set up gear.
Yes. Yep. You're right. So we do anything. AV Room Service does anything to do with noise control and sound quality. In particular, we specialize in small room acoustics, which are different disciplines than large rooms or performance venues. We're critical listening and viewing environments. So personal home theaters or recording studios, dedicated 2-channel rooms, things like that. And yes, we do design work. We'll do it from scratch. We'll call out the construction materials and methods to meet particular noise control issues that might be controlling noise infiltrating into the space or the other way around. We do all kinds of design, all kinds of modeling, all kinds of testing, and as you mentioned, also calibration. So I've been a specialist in video calibration since before ISF was even a thing. I had a store. I had a high-end store in Grass Valley, California, Northern California. There's a company there, really world-renowned company called the Grass Valley Group. They specialized in switching devices for video, and so I knew some of those guys. Some of those guys were my customers, and I was very into audio and video calibration. Well, back then, and we had tubes, tube display devices. There wasn't a whole lot of gear that the consumer could use to calibrate their display devices. And what existed was very cumbersome. And I was able to borrow some of that equipment and go into customers' homes and calibrate their display device to NTSC standards. So that was, there were, there were maybe a handful of people in the United States that did that back then. We're talking, early 80s or so. So yes, I've been doing that forever. Audio, obviously, and turntables, all of that. Big, huge follower of WAM engineering and Wally tools, and have been since it's probably been 25 years or so. So yeah. Anything to do with the
and audio. You guys are always partnering together.
Yeah, me and JR, yeah.
And you and Wally are always partnering.
As far as we know each other's products. So if one guy's doing a seminar, the other can cover for him, or if he's got he's got a bunch of people he's talking to, or got to use the restroom or whatever. It works out really well, and we also have very many of the same draw. So this customer is going to be interested in my stuff and vice versa. So yeah, it works out really well.
Wonderful. Now, and we will see Wally in Austin, Texas here.
I don't know if he's going to be there or not. I know for sure that we're sharing space in June in Costa Mesa. Yeah. And also in New York. We'll be there together. Yeah.
Wonderful. Hey, we have a couple friends here. We've got my pal. We've got Larry Stugel on the line. Larry, thanks for being here. And Norm, we got a call out from Joshua there. Popular guy.
All right.
So when we talk about the vibrations that are entering a room, what's really interesting is that while I was setting up for this video call, because I'm not in my traditional spot where I do videos, I was walking around the house. I'm like, where would be the best place to set up for a video? And there was a lot of, first of all, lighting is very important. I want some natural light so that people can see me. And then then there's contrast, right? I'm like, well, here I have too light and too dark. And I'm like, that's not going to be good. And then I went downstairs and I'm like, wow, the HVAC sure is noisy down here. That's not going to be good. And so I set up here, and I do think we've got a little bit of internet lag, which we are managing very well. Thank you very much. But when we talk about, designing a room and construction, what you said is we work from the most egregious sources of vibration which enter a room, and we work all the way down to essentially the micro vibrations,
Nano.
which we would, use equipment vibration protectors and cable vibration protectors. What are some of those major sources, and how do cable vibration protectors work, and EVPs?
Okay, great question. So, to back up as far as, you have to find out, well, what are the sources of vibration? So, whatever they may be, we have to understand. So, if we are modeling, if let me back up. Depends on if we're doing existing construction, a remodel, an improvement of an existing room, or if it doesn't exist already, then we have to estimate it. Now, there's some things that we can do. We also do a lot of power quality stuff. We can, we can take core samples, and that might give us some information regarding technical grounding. It also will maybe give us information on soil and what its content is, not only as far as moisture, but as far as vibration. And, for example, if it's new construction, I'll ask, um, um, is there outside noise that you are aware of, like air traffic, or maybe a train, a railroad, or heavy truck traffic? Those are things that we need to know about in advance, because those are going to be large, low frequency energies that will need to be isolated. And that's a big deal. And if you don't do it now, it's going to be impossible or out of reach to do it later, and you're just going to be stuck. So now that, ground, that's going to be structure borne vibrations, a train, heavy trucks, that kind of thing. Air traffic, that's going to be airborne. And so that's going to be coming in a number of different ways via windows or whatever. But then you also have to think about internally crosstalk from you mentioned HVAC ventilation. They can become a two-way, like walkie-talkie. You can communicate between floors with an HVAC system. So they have to be dedicated. You have to address that in a number of different ways. But what I want to emphasize is that it's all about how the pathway, and usually it's plural pathways. What are the energy sources as far as energy versus frequency? That will then dictate what kind of construction materials and methods and or acoustical products will work. So we need to know, what are the existing or estimated conditions. We know, or we will discuss with the client, what the end goals are. For example, what does our noise floor want to be? What does our reverberation time, what's desired? Those kinds of things. And so then it's a matter of me as a consultant to bridge the two with construction and materials and acoustical products that will address those. That answer your question?
How far does the average listener go? Like, how far does the audio file go? Because I could imagine if you're building a recording studio, you would want to go to the nth degree, especially, location and structure-borne vibration. But for audio files in normal listening rooms, how far do they go?
Right. That's a really
usually
good. That's a super good question, Scott, because it brings up a fact that in the recording, the pro audio world, but let's talk about, specifically recording studios or mixing studios. Those guys, before construction begins, the first thing that they are thinking about is noise control and sound quality. These are the first things that are considered before equipment, before dimensions, before layout, before setup, any of that. In the audiophile world, it's the other way around. It's not, this is what I got. I didn't think about acoustics at all. And this is what I got to deal with. And so, how far do they go? It depends, obviously, on so many constraints. Um, um, what kind of problems do they have? How serious are they? How addressable are they? What are the what are the constraints? They might be budget, of course, right? But often acoustics, depending if it's noise controlled, it can be expensive. If it's room modes, if it's low frequency, you're talking about long wavelengths, lots of energy, difficult to get control of, and expensive. And once that's in the structure, it's in the structure, and it's going to come out somewhere. So that's difficult. Other things, reverberation times, sealing for airborne infiltration, things like that are not so expensive. And I think often audiophiles think that it's a lot more expensive than it really is. But again, always, if you think about it beforehand, it's most likely going to be less expensive than if you think about it later. One of the things that you had asked about is how do the EVPs work? To me, this is the equipment vibration protectors, and I should have brought one. But anybody could go to the website and see them if they don't know what they are. But there are these little round pucks. They're isolation feet for equipment. But the first place that they should be put is under the loudspeaker, because that's the source of vibration. And they are because I've been an acoustical engineer for decades, and we apply whatever the product, it doesn't have to be our product, whatever is the right product for the job. And every job is unique. Every job is totally unique. But the equipment vibration protectors are absolutely, by far, the best bang for the buck of all the products that we sell. And I know this is a huge plug, but but it's true. This is the only product, the only acoustical product that I know of that hits all the sound quality attributes. So articulation's a great word, but low frequency articulation, impact, soundstage, timbre, spatiality, low level detail, all those things are addressed. And it is also the only acoustical product that we sell that is also a noise control product. So in other words, you put EVPs under your subwoofer, and the rest of the house no longer hears the subwoofer. This is also the least expensive and the easiest to install of all the acoustical products that we have. So yeah, EVP is, to me, it's like, I mean, it'll make all pieces of equipment sound better. So yeah, they're a great product. And how it works, because you asked a while back, it's
I'm very interested.
okay. It's the core is fiberglass, and so they're intermingled, and it's layers of fiberglass. So we have different amounts of different number of layers of fiberglass to make up the core, and so that is to handle different weights of equipment. So we have different sizes of feet and different densities of feet to handle different weights of equipment. And when you load it properly, the natural resonant frequency is then 3.4 hertz, and it's effective right at 5 hertz on up. It'll conservatively, and everything that we make is lab tested, and we publish the results. It'll conservatively mitigate 90% of the energy from 5 hertz on up. So anyway, that's a great product.
It is. And when I look at some of the highest end rooms that I've seen out there at shows, a big shout out to Joseph Audio and Doshi Labs and J Sakura turntables. I see equipment vibration protectors underneath of loudspeakers, and it's just when you see these ultra high end rooms, that's what it's about. Now, you do have an article on your website that's published through Positive Feedback. It's 10 misconceptions about loudspeaker spikes.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
one of my favorite demonstrations at the show is your music box, where you play it in air and you barely hear it. You play it on a soundboard and you hear it normally. Then if you play it on just different types of spikes, the tonal texture of that might change, but you still hear the amplification of that, and you put it on an equipment vibration protector, and it's essentially, it's like holding it up in the free air. So
yeah,
how can I understand, spikes are mechanical coupling, they're diodes, of course. If you go from sort of large feet to small spikes, your load distribution on the floor is changed. Because
yeah.
you've got a point there, and
Hmm.
you're just that surface of the floor is going to be heavily loaded under the point. But
Right.
how do I don't know. Look, Norm, you see a lot of hi-fi racks that have got spikes in between the racks.
Yep.
And you also see elastomeric materials. Could you speak on those two
Sure.
concepts?
Yeah. Um, Again, this is something that it's just a misunderstanding that you find just in the the high end audio world. It's not something that you. There is no confusion about this coupling versus decoupling in the pro audio world, and absolutely not in the noise and vibration industry. So the difference between coupling and decoupling is just like it sounds. Coupling, you're going to communicate really well with whatever vibrations are being transmitted are going to be transferred to the resting platform and also even reflected back. Where decoupling is an elastomeric of some kind, the better the decoupling, the better the isolation, um, and and you have this confusion, and I this is what I think is happening. The confusion in the audiophile world is that they they hear a difference with the spikes for sure. What they're not understanding is that what they are hearing is a coloration, and if you change that spike, the material, the shape, the size, um, the even the resting platform, the weight that's on it, like you said, that it goes down to, if you're going down to a little point, you are making that conductor communicate even better. All of that is not something that you want as an audiophile. As an audiophile, we're after neutrality, right? We want to hear just what the artist intended and try and avoid other colorations. When you use a rigid device, a coupling device, such as a spike or anything dense and hard that's rigid, every one of them is going to sound different because it will have multiple resonant peaks in the audible bandwidth. That means that the energy is being amplified at those frequencies. And so when you change it out or change the equipment that's on them or whatever, those resonances also change. And now it sounds different again. But the confusion with the audiophiles is that it is louder. He hasn't changed the volume, but from one to a soft footer to a rigid footer, it's louder. Yes, it is. And it's coloration that you don't want. So if you decouple properly, none of those resonances exist. When you go to isolate, and again, this is from the noise and vibration industry, you want to design a product whose natural resonant frequency is at least 1 octave below the lowest frequency of interest. So when I went and designed this, I was thinking 20 hertz. So I don't want to have anything that's going to resonate 20 hertz or above. So I'm looking for something that's going to, work down at 10 hertz. Well, I was able to actually get down to 3.4 hertz, which is wonderful because then I'm also going to be addressing a lot of football problems with turntables. And we do the EVPs. That's a great solution. If you've got a customer that has a problem with, he's got a tiptoe when he's playing vinyl, EVPs will take care of that. They'll also take care of feedback from a subwoofer, and a turntable, those kinds of things too. But yes, the other thing to think of is when you're talking about coupling versus decoupling, that and why it has so much to do with sound control and noise quality is that when you are coupling, you are hearing 4 arrival times. So when you have a loudspeaker that is resting on the floor and is the cabinet is moving, it's transmitting that to the floor. In the United States, our construction is all hard fastened. So the walls are fastened to the floor, the ceiling's fastened to the walls, everything's hard fastened. So once the energy gets into the structure, it goes throughout, okay? Now, with sound energy, the denser the material, the faster and the further sound energy travels. So the first arrival is structure borne, and that is the energy from the loudspeaker is being transmitted to the floor, to your chair, to your butt, via bone conduction to your ear. The second arrival is airborne from your speaker directly to your ear. That's the one that you want. That's the only one that we want. The third one is also airborne. These are reflections inside the room that we can address with diffusers or absorbers to control first order reflection points and reverberation times. And then the fourth arrival is a big one. And this is now the structure playing back to you later in time. So the energy gets into the structure, it holds it for a second, and then releases like a capacitor, releases it later in time. If you go again in the US and you do a light fist bump between studs in with a 2x4 construction, you're going to hear 70 hertz. So anytime you play any music that has 70 hertz in it, which is, anything really that you can think of, then it's going to sympathize. It's going to play it back, but later in time. So you have a pre-arrival, you have the arrival that you want, and then you have you have one that you can control, and then you have this post-arrival. So when I say that the EVPs under your speakers, it quiets the room, it's a big deal. Most people have never experienced that, don't know what I'm talking about, and unless you have, you don't know what I'm talking about. To have the room quieted is a big deal, and it affects timbre, as you can imagine, smearing, articulation, not to mention noise control. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing when you start to hear things like this. And I think, the one of the things that makes hi-fi great for audiophiles is just it's really the speed. It's how fast your speakers can respond, but it's also that there's no lag in the response. As you say, if the
Right.
walls hold energy, if you're
Yeah.
hearing different things reflect, it's
Yeah.
sort of, it's making that tone longer than what it's supposed to be. So the speed is very important. I remember when I wall mounted my turntable, I thought, well, the bass, it's thinner, the bass is less. And then my audiophile friend's like, no, your turntable is just not amplifying your floor vibrations. And of course, that's going to make for a faster attack because, again, it's a slower response. And, that's really not, the music signal isn't calling for a response at, when the floor is responding. It's sort of holding on to that energy, and it's
Mhm.
amazing how your sonic signature changes.
Yeah. 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 It not only as far as the structure playing back whatever unique properties it has, but also the reverberation times. A lot of people don't think about, how tonal reverberation times are. They're totally unique, and we, your room and everyone else's room is totally unique unless you've got it under control. And you want the reverberation times to be nice and linear, not something really weird. You don't want a curve that's unique. You want one that's controlled. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You asked earlier about, how do the EVPs work, and I didn't answer that. So I did say that they're, it's fiberglass intermingled with each other, and it's layers to make different densities. But it's really simple, so that the mechanical energy causes movement, right? And so that those fibers, it causes friction. So the mechanical energy is converted to thermal energy. That's how the sound energy is dissipated. So it's real simple and pretty cool.
And as you already mentioned, it is super cool, the damping effect there. And of course, as you mentioned, your EVP's equipment vibration protectors are designed to lower the first natural frequency of your speaker system to 5 hertz, and which is of course well below the 20 hertz sort of minimum frequency, and rolling off. And of course, I think, there's probably other products out there that to some degree are effective, to some degree will change the coloration of a product. But I would imagine, if they can't be hitting that low natural frequency that EVPs would be doing.
You're right. Yeah. And, I have tested a lot, unless it's like has some elastomeric properties in it, I don't care. It's not a competitor at all. But the music box mechanism is wonderful because it has so little energy, like that of a tweeter, but it plays down to 500 hertz. If you can put that on a foot and hear it transfer, then it's no good. So that's a very simple.
I honestly,
yeah, you can just imagine. Okay, so what's it going to do if I put a real speaker on it? Well, it's going to transmit a whole lot more energy. So yeah, I'm aware of other manufacturers and how because I've tested them. There's like I say, with all of our products, there's a standard acoustical test, and so we go to an accredited lab for whatever the standard is that we're, whatever the product is and whatever the test is, absorption or scattering, or in this case, vibration transmission, and it's done with an impulse hammer. And so I've done that with a whole lot of our competitors, so I know how they perform. But we seem to be unique in that we seem to be the only one in the audiophile world who publishes our results. And so yeah, we don't just say it, but then also we offer a 30-day money back guarantee, so you can try it out for yourself. And it seems, they've been out there for about 6 years now, and the standard seems to be, and I've witnessed this so many times, is if you're familiar with your system, you listen to something, then you put the EVPs under there, and it'll take you about 3 seconds to go, oh my gosh. You don't have to go, and then go back and do I hear something? So, it's really obvious.
A question for you. On May 2, 3, 4 at the Lone Star Audio Fest in Round Rock, Texas, you're going to be there. If someone wants to try out EVPs and purchase them at the show, will you have a show code that you'll provide at that time for a discount on that product?
Yeah. Now I won't be at the Loans. I won't be at the this one in Texas, but I will be there in Costa Mesa, and there will be a code during the course of the show, or maybe for a number of days after. that'll give you 10% off a few of the EVPs for one, cable vibration protectors, chassis damping strips, and so forth. And then also there'll be another code, same story for the New York Audio Fest as well. Then is that what you call it? The show New York?
Awesome. So we call it, it's actually called the New York International Audio Show.
Okay.
So that's awesome. So everyone out there, you gotta come to the show, both of them. Be there in Austin at Round Rock. Be there in SoCal. Be there in New York, and come check out Norm. Come talk to him. Ask him about the music box. Ask Norm to do the demo. Bring your own audiophile isolation device with you, and ask Norm to play the music box on there, and do it on the EVP and see the difference. I'm like, and then if you're like me and you know that you have to purchase this product, this has to be the next thing that I buy, you'll get that 10% off discount code, and you can save a little bit of money there. So Norm, talk about how cable vibration protectors work. Are they simply just, is it just adding mass to your cable? But also, I know that there's another wonderful product that you have in develop, which is you've got the Polyflex diffusers, but now you've put them on a wooden frame. So now you can start tuning your room with these Polyflex diffusers. I think that's a really cool product.
It is. It's a super fun product too. Okay, gosh, lots to cover. So I'm going to do you one better. If you come to the show in Costa Mesa or New York, then I think we're booked to do a seminar in Costa Mesa, and I hope we're booked to do a seminar in New York. And this year, my seminar is all about, it's more about the services and what's involved with acoustical product testing and modeling and applying. So I think, that'll be of interest to a lot of people. And I'm also going to say that bring your questions to me at the booth. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So, do that. Okay, cable vibration protectors were the next thing that made sense to come out with. So again, cables can be very microphonic, and you can easily find out how microphonic your particular cables are by simply turning up the gain and giving them a light, a light little rap with a pen or a pencil, and see if you hear it coming through your system. If you do, then okay, my cables are sensitive to vibrations on the floor. And so then you get the cable vibration protectors. There's two types of cable vibration protectors. Again, they are mechanical isolators. They, again, have fiberglass in them. They're little bags, and they have two different types of jackets on them. Turns out that if you simply lift a cable off of the floor, let's say you've got a speaker cable or an interconnect that is running along the floor, and the conditions are dry, the humidity is low, which happens, we're out in Ohio in the winter time. So right now we've got, low humidity, and I can measure, and they're on the website, it shows this, you can measure static electricity charge. That field is measurable. All I'm doing is holding the device and lifting the cable, and you can see charge, no charge when I couple it with the floor. So the cable vibration protector needs to couple. It needs to isolate mechanically, but electromagnetically, it needs to couple to the floor. So there is one jacket that couples to the floor, the EC, electromagnetic coupler, and then there's the EI, electromagnetic isolator. This has a different jacket that is an EMI RFI shield rejector. You would use this cable like behind your preamp, or where you've got a cable that is near a power supply, or crosses a cable, a power cable, or crosses another signal cable, or you can use it to isolate analog from digital cables, or even right to left. So again, this is a very inexpensive product, and it just you just lightly, it comes with Velcro that you just slip the jacket and wrap the Velcro lightly around, and you typically just need a few of them on maybe each side of a speaker, right and left speaker setup, but it depends on the cable and depends on how long, obviously. But anyway, they're sold individually like the EVPs are too.
Cool. I didn't know that. That's super interesting.
Yep.
Norm, I is there, so I want to reiterate that at the Costa Mesa show, in the New York show, you'll be delivering a presentation focusing on the services and focusing on some of the structural mechanisms, some of the testing that you've done, and some of the testing results and the methodology. I want to encourage everyone to come to the show and come attend your seminars, because there's so many things, there's so much awesome things to do at the show, including hanging out with your friends, great food, great hi-fi. Even though, I think there's some really well set up rooms at shows that will just display how awesome some sound systems can really be. There's a lot of A/B testing there, and there's some great technical seminars. So I want to encourage everyone to be there and to attend your seminar. But I guess before we go, is there anything else that you want to add here that you feel you need to talk about?
Oh gosh, we could go on and on and on. There's always so much to talk about, but regarding the seminars, a lot of other trade shows have, some of them, it's all about the seminars, and I wish we had more of them. Those who have attended my seminars, they're different every year, but they're always about acoustics, of course. I don't typically talk about my stuff per se. And then I always, in the last 15 minutes or so, I open it up for questions, and that is always my favorite part, because somebody's going to have a question that 5-10 other people are also wondering about too, that they can relate to, and it makes it just that more personable and that more real, and may answer several people's questions. But yeah, there are so many myths in the audiophile world that need to be addressed, and that's a lot of what I try and cover in the seminars. Because for me, it's just, oh my gosh, this is I've been at this forever, and it's just, I think, getting worse instead of better. Darn it. But it's tough. I write articles. I do YouTube channels. I have a YouTube channel. I haven't worked on it lately. I have told myself this year I'm going to do it, and I haven't had time. Too many shows. But I'm all about sharing education, and what I know, what I've learned, and why I like this is because I'm constantly learning more myself. But I've got a lot of experience, and I can impart that and enjoy imparting that to others, and trying to explain, demystify so much of the misinformation that audiophiles have to deal with. So that's about it all.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Norman. From an engineer who cut his teeth in vibration control, a guy who loves structural dynamics. I love thinking about the way things vibrate, their motions, their modes, and thinking about like stress concentration points and, you know, where things fail, where things bend, how to get things under control. This is sort of taking that knowledge into another realm, into, you know, the acoustic realm. And I really enjoy chatting with you and sharing the knowledge. I really enjoyed the YouTube videos you did with GR Research and Ron at New Record Day. I really enjoyed the YouTube video that you did with Jason at Audiophile Junkie on the NWAA lab in Washington, which is not too far from my home in Oregon, but there's lots out there. So definitely just go to YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search Norman Varney and come to the show, May 2, 3, 4, June, and that would be June 6, 7, 8, and October 24, 25, 26.
At the AV Room Service website, there's a whole bunch of articles, and there's a YouTube button where you can go to my channel and see there's a ton of stuff. I think that all of the YouTubes that you just mentioned are under miscellaneous. So there's a bunch of different, you know, playlists, and those happen to be miscellaneous.
Awesome. Well, Norm, we're gonna sign off now. We're gonna see each other at the show again. Thank you for your time, and it's really great just to share with like-minded audiophiles. And you know, I'm an ambassador for the show, so I'm uncovering audiophile myths all the time, and I just love to learn more about it. So thank you again for this opportunity to talk more about that.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Well, we will see you at